No one will be able to swim in the sea and marine life will die.
If there was stagnation in these waters, that means people wouldn't swim because you'd have bad smell. And this project, from a successful project, would turn into the least successful project and the biggest gamble in history.
Finally, the design team finds a clever solution. The channels between the islands must be deepened. By changing the levels of the sea floor, the water will be pushed faster through the world islands. To help the tide keep a constant flow of clean water around the islands, the engineers also need to add another gap in the breakwater on the northern Chamal Reef side, the side that faces the storms.
The problem is, when you create this big opening just in the middle of the Chamal Reef, you are opening the whole reef and you will ask the Chamal waves to come in. And it can be a big disaster for the stability of the islands.
To stop the waves crashing in through this new gap, engineers overlap the breakwater in front of the opening. This opening allows the strong tides from the north to flush the whole system in 2 days.
So basically, if I dropped a can right here, if there was strong currents, I should expect the can to be somewhere closer to Dubai in another 2 days.
Everyone breathes a sigh of relief. Water readings are clear. The project is back on track. From the start of the project, the Sheikh was aware of the environmentalists' concerns about the local ecology. At its conception, it was argued that dredging the sea floor to create this colossal megastructure would cause damage to sea life and coral beds in the area. Construction went ahead, but using natural materials to limit the pollution rather than toxic materials like concrete and steel. Marine scientist Professor Joe Valensic has been brought in from California to monitor the development.
The typical marine environment before the world was built is nothing more than a sandy area. And this sandy area continually shifts around, moved by waves and currents. It was very, very difficult for any animals to survive because of these shifting conditions.
By building the World Island breakwater, the marine life is given a new stable environment.
The caves, the crevices, the small openings are the ideal environment for fish. It gives them a tremendous amount of protection.
The breakwater has become a 25-kilometer artificial reef, a haven for marine life. Dives are made regularly to keep an eye on the increasing fish stocks. Where there was once a barren desert seabed, now the amount of sea life is hundreds of times greater than before.
The life that we have seen here far exceeds what we had predicted. And this makes me extremely happy.
Environmental engineers recently discovered something else they hope will radically improve the marine environment. Diving by the Palm Island, they noticed new seagrasses growing in the area. If they can help it grow on the world islands, the effect on the marine life could be staggering.
For me, it was very exciting to see seagrass in some of the channels here at the World. Now, what it provides in is not only shelter and food, but it oxygenates the water, something that is critical for marine life.
Seagrass is a great thing to have growing on your building site. It's a natural way to keep the environment healthy. Confounding its critics, incredibly, the building of this project has benefited the entire area. The Sheikh's decision to use rock and sand has paid off. 2 years into construction, the basic structure is 70% complete. There are still more than 80 islands to be built.
We're standing on the north coast of Europe, facing the North Atlantic Ocean. In this case, it's open waters because we haven't completed. And right here in the middle will be Iceland. And Iceland will be one of those critical hubs for us, and it will be the last to be built. And eventually then they will close the breakwaters, and the project will be completed from the reclamation point of view.
The end of the first phase, the creation of the islands, is in sight. Once the islands are fully built, the project moves on to the final stage, the building of the infrastructure, the installation of power and pipelines, and the creation of these exclusive resorts. Strict guidelines dictate what materials can be used and how sewage and energy supplies are implemented.
This project has to be green and environmentally sound to start out with. The advantage is that we're creating a city where we have no bounds. So we're able to redesign the way that we think transportation, water supply, wastewater collection, power generation, to create the most efficient system ever attempted by man.
But every aspect of the project design has to be vetted by Nakheel, the developers, first, to fit in with their eco-friendly vision of the world. And Hamza Mustafa is not happy with many of the plans submitted so far.
It's just frustrating when people don't want to actually build according to your vision. And we can understand that, but if we really want to build history today, we have to make sure that we get the right investors, the right owners to fulfill our vision.
But developers' ideals are difficult to live up to. When this deluxe 5-bedroom show home on Greenland was built, the developer's budget was limitless. It took 5 months to build this one residence. The house was brought out in prefabricated sections by boat. Pipework and desalination plants were installed at astronomical cost. Fresh water made on site services the house and the garden. These lawns have to be watered every day. 6 solar panels power the hot water, air conditioning and emergency alarm systems. This show home demonstrates the amount of work needed to create a fully functioning residence, and it cost a fortune to build. The development plans for the rest of the world are much bigger and more complicated, and their budgets will have to be more realistic. These sand islands are the perfect blank canvas on which to create their wildest dreams. The only thing stopping them is their imagination.
I don't know of a single place that you not only buy a location, but then you can shape your land to meet your dream. So the vision is incredibly important.
Based in Miami, Lewis's team helped the investors realize their ideas. When a client buys an island, the team put the vision on paper. Designs are drawn up and landscaping modifications can be made. If they need to raise the height of the island, Lewis works it out. Within 48 hours, the amended plans are emailed to the construction team in Dubai. Over 11,000 kilometers away, the new data directs the dredger's movements and the plans are realized.
It's awesome to think that from a computer key you are controlling one of these gigantic dredgers.
The building of the infrastructure is not just about modifying your land. It's about actually installing the vision, creating the houses and resorts. But there is no bridge connecting the world to the mainland. All the materials and workers needed to create these resorts will have to be taken there by boat. Navigating round the narrow channels with tugboats and barges could be a recipe for disaster. For the investors, this phase will be fraught with logistical nightmares. If moving 32 million tons of rock and 320 million cubic meters of sand was a test, the building of the infrastructure will be the most complicated part of the project.
The biggest challenge was really a mental challenge to think the problems through.
A team of 30 people work on the master plan at any one time. At this stage, all they have are sand islands and the investors' dreams. The team's job is to turn paper drawings into reality. And the wealthy clients have ambitious ideas. A Kuwaiti company is the biggest investor so far. It has snapped up Australia and New Zealand, designing Okeana, 20 islands on the southern side of the world. The resort will cover 400,000 square meters, offering a chic ocean lifestyle. The plans involve nearly 2,000 properties, from apartments and mansions to water homes on stilts. An enormous marina will provide its visitors with 1,500 berths. 2 high-end hotels will pander to the whims of the exclusive clients destined for these shores. The Kuwaiti company expects to begin construction in 2008. The creators of Okeana still want to build desert island resorts on desert islands. 4 men from Ireland have a much more outrageous idea. They want to recreate the green rolling hills of Ireland with its dramatic cliffs and beaches in the desert. It's a tall order, but developer Andrew Brett is determined it's going to be authentic.
Everything has to be Irish. It has to look Irish, it has to feel Irish. If we're walking down the street here, it needs to have the same type of feel.
Andrew and his colleague Raymond Norton talk about buying Ireland for months. Suddenly, other investors are showing interest in their island. They must make a decision quickly or they will miss the boat.
My suggestion is we just do it. We go for it and we send the money down today.
In true Irish form, the deal is done over a pint in the pub. For Raymond, it's a grand moment.
We sat down, we had a chat, and over 20 minutes we decided this is it, we're going for this. This is a fantastic opportunity. Cheers, lads. Now, big question. Who's sending the money down? So we put our money down the next day.
Could you organise a cheque for $2.5 million to get down to Dubai in the morning?
We've been designing it at a frantic pace with Nikhil now to get it ready.
But it's not going to be an easy job. The plans keep expanding. They want to recreate the lush green countryside, houses and squares, and a themed Irish pub. These audacious plans are all at design stage. Regular meetings with the master planners keep the project on track.
The slate, the brick, everything that's to do with this island needs to represent something that somebody has seen in Ireland or would expect to see when they actually travel here.
Even bolder is their plan to build a mini Giant's Causeway, a natural phenomenon where rocky coastline rises out of the sea in perfect hexagonal shapes. The boys from Dublin are going to build this out on their island in Dubai. But this is not just a gimmick. The rocks are necessary to protect the island and act like a breakwater. The little sandbar of Ireland lies on the northern side of the world. Its northern shores will suffer from wave action from passing boats. Building the Giant's Causeway here is a clever idea that will protect their $38 million investment.
The Giant's Causeway is a massive tourist attraction in Ireland anyway, so everybody that comes to this island is going to go and have a look at it. Okay. The important thing is that when they get there, they need to see it. You know, not something that looks like it. We need to really recreate that.
Raymond and Andrew intend to mould concrete into the hexagonal shapes of the Giant's Causeway. The plan should work. But their biggest challenge is turning their barren desert island into a lush green land. It's an irrigator's nightmare finding fresh water out in the middle of the sea. The Irish developers are using the most modern technology to store water underground and irrigate from there, rather than using sprinkler systems.
We'll be redistributing the water throughout the island to irrigate it. It'll be as green as it is in Ireland, it just won't be raining.
They have an enormous job ahead of them. Will they be able to fulfill their dream?
Skeptics everywhere, but I think what Dubai has proven is that, you know, skeptics beware. Anything is doable.
Raymond is confident, but it will be a few years before he finds out if his vision is achievable. And now, the whole World Island project is expanding. The original population of the world was planned to be a couple of thousand, with the islands owned by wealthy individuals. But the price tag of $20 million seems to be scaring off everyone but property developers. Now the demand is for resorts, not houses. The projected population has increased to 250,000. Creating a transportation network for the world will be a vast challenge for the master planners. How can they move 250,000 people between the mainland and the world islands without the tranquil waters becoming a congested motorway? January 2006. Investors have great plans for the island. But there is one final hurdle: transportation. 250,000 tourists will visit the world.